plan it, they find a client, agree what the brief will be, talk to, develop it,
Yep.
and then deliver it. This is the pudding that the proof
Yeah.
of will be seen. Is Kerry coming?
No, unfortunately she won't be able to come. I don't think Thursday.
Oh, that's right, she did say that, yes, she did.
So, if you just bear with me just for 1 minute, and I'll just sort of formally introduce it, but more importantly back to formally welcome you and thank you for being the clients for these good people, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon. You are the clients, they are your consultants. The whole of this presentation is from them to you, or with you, should I say. And Elaine and I are just here quietly assessing them, not assessing them, okay? And so they will control the session. We have a camera, not for any other reason except as proof that it took place, just in case the examiner said, you've given these people 95%, are you sure it took place? And was that when I say we actually got a record? But they're not actually being assessed on their cinematic skills, although they do look delightful, but they're not actually, they don't actually have to be very photogenic or anything like that. So I will shut up, I'll just set it going, and then it's over to you guys, okay? Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll see you later when you start.
Yeah, that's fine.
Put it down.
I just, oh, it is going, sorry.
With just limited copies, so
Okay, share. It's fine.
I think that's what.
You sure?
Yeah. This Jake will go through the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before starting our presentation, I would like to thank, on behalf of my team, Rachel and her team from the Bond University International College, and I would also take this opportunity to thank Peter and Milena for providing us with this opportunity. So it's a lovely day. Let's start our presentation with this magnificent building of the BU International College. May I present you my team of consultants: Alex Ronji, Bani Kawai, Laura Carminati, Jacob Dermid, and myself, Manish. So a brief outlook of our presentation, that is the agenda of today. We'll be starting with a brief introduction of our consultancy project, the aims and objectives behind our project. Then we'll be delving further into the planning process that we went through, the various kinds of models that we used for our consultancy. Then we'll look into the analytical bits and the various analytical tools that we have used for our project. As part of our project, we had to deliver a certain list of deliverables, and we'll round off our presentation with a list of our recommendations. So a brief overview of the corporation behind the BU International College. Kaplan Incorporation is an international private US-based education provider that runs a network of colleges all over the world. In the UK, the institution runs a network of 8 international colleges in partnership and collaboration with some of the leading universities in the country. The collaboration between Kaplan International College and Bournemouth University is called the BU International College. As part of the offerings, the institution offers courses in academic skills, exam preparations, English language training, and it also provides foundation courses for the prospective students willing or likely to enroll in bachelor's and master's program. So the aims and objectives of our consultancy project, the main objective was to develop a strategic plan for our client, and it was regarding the opening ceremony of the BU International College building, slated to be held on the 15th of October, that is on the Saturday, and on the 17th of October, we are planning to have an open day. So the launch of the BU International College building, it clashes with Kaplan's 10th anniversary, celebrating its operation of 10th years of operation in the UK. So for any project, we have to follow a series of plans, right from taking the initiatives to the planning and through the execution, control, and closure. Every successful project needs to follow a series of plans. Regarding the scale and scope of our project, we focused exclusively on the first initial 2 phases, which have been highlighted in green, right from taking the initiatives to the planning phases. And the project management tools that have been used for our project are the detailed Smart Action spreadsheet and the Gantt chart, which will be discussed upon as we go on through our presentation. So we found it suitable to use the process consultation model. This model was devised by Edgar Schein in 1999, and the basic premise of this model is that the client owns both the problem and the solution. The main issue in hand was regarding the launching of the new building, and the solution was organizing an opening ceremony. So on our part, we as consultants had to devise a series of alternatives and options to reach to the solution of event management. The main highlight of the consultation of this project process consultation model is also it emphasizes collaborative and engaging approach, engaging both the client and the consultancy team throughout the project. So we use different kinds of analytical tools, but all of them pertain to the critical success factors. The main highlight of the analytical tools were in assigning the responsibilities to the teams throughout the 2-day event, the time confidence that had to be taken in mind regarding the scale of the event and various activities that had to be conducted throughout the event. And of course, there were like budget constraints. We had to look at the cost estimation and analysis of the cost regarding the entire event and the potential risk and threat that were there that could potentially hamper the effective implementation of the event. Now we start our analysis, and the first thing we considered were the stakeholders. Because of the scale of this event, the stakes were very high. We had a large number of stakeholders, right from the Kaplan College team to the local businesses, current and prospective students, and to the Bournemouth University. We had a list of stakeholders. But on the basis of interest and influence of the stakeholders, we found it that the Kaplan College team, right from the initiation, planning, and execution of the project, had the key steps. Right from inviting the VIPs and dignitaries to engaging with the students throughout the event to operating under the rules and regulations of the council, the Kaplan College team held the key. We could not overlook the importance of students in these events, as they are the main resources and ingredients of any educational institution. The students could be from the local schools and colleges who are likely to enroll in further academic skills training and courses offered by the colleges. The students could be from the BU who are willing to take foundation courses before starting the bachelor's and master program in the BU. Now, moving from the stakeholders, a common analytical tool that is used is the SWOT analysis. But looking at this scale and scope of our project, we found it apt to use a devised version of the SWOT analysis, that is the TOES matrix. A normal SWOT would just look at the internal and external variables, but the TOWS matrix aims to identify and leverage the synergistic effects of all the identical variables. The main highlight of the TOWS matrix are highlighted by the 4 key strategic directions highlighted below. Now let's look at the first strategy, the Maxi-Maxi strategy, which looks at the strengths and opportunities of the organizations. The branding and presence of the Kaplan team, the strategic location of the Bunker building. We can use the strength to leverage the opportunities available in this ever-growing city of Bournemouth with the local businesses in order to develop public relations, and this can be used as a marketing strategy as well. On the flip side, when we look at the weaknesses and threat, the mini-mini strategy, there are various risks involved. Since we are operating on a limited budget and there are threats of bad weather or other rules and regulations, we have to develop a detailed risk register. Moving on from the tools, the successful implementation of an event is never complete without a concrete budget plan. But I like to highlight that as a part of our consultancy project, there wasn't a fixed event budget allocated, which made financial projections for each of the activities and the entire two-day event very difficult. However, as per the special request of the client, we did look upon some of the costs involved with the music licensing and quotation for the fireworks. For a brief overview of the firework quotation, let's look at this quotation for divided into private and public events. For a normal private celebration, a per minute estimation of a firework would cost up to £120, whereas for a public event, the cost would rise to £200. So, but as per the recommendation of the firework company, it is recommended that an initial costing of per minute for private celebrations would be £150, with the same for the public event should be around £300. Moving from the budget, the key threat and weakness of every event and activity are the risks involved. There are various risks involved with the event, so we devised a detailed risk register. This is a snapshot of our risk register, which have been mentioned in our report. So the basic important thing of this risk register is that we have used a traffic light system with the 3 colors, yellow, green, and red, which determines the level of risk of each of the activities. And the total risk score has been determined on the basis of the product of the impact of the risk and the probability of that risk occurring. For example, we have an activity in the opening ceremony to invite various VIPs and dignitaries. Potential risk factors could be some of the VIPs and dignitaries might not be able to attend the event. So based on the impact and probability, we have a moderate level of risk at 9. But on the other side, we have another activity to engage the students, that's the face painting. The risk factors could be 2. Firstly, there might not be enough students which would affect the effectiveness of the event. Secondly, there might be enough students, but there could be potential risk of some of the students developing allergies, and so because of this, the risk score we have assigned is 16 based on the impact and the probability. So all the activities that have been marked or highlighted red has to be followed by a stringent mitigation measures. So for the face painting activity, we have to be standby on addressing the health issues and the safety aid.
Manish, could I interrupt at this point, please, just to clarify, because your aim is to develop a plan for the event ceremonies, and you mentioned 2 ceremonies on the 15th and the 17th, and I do apologize for that coming from Cole to this case. And, so the launch of the new building and the 10th anniversary presents, are they 2 different events on 2 different days?
on the 15th, we have the event building launch,
That's right.
and we have various VIPs from Catherine attending the event. So throughout the day, we will be launching various, undertaking various other events. But on the 17th of October, that is a Saturday, we are going to have the open day, and that is where most of the students' interaction and activities toward the student
So
will be undertaken.
the budget, the risk register, etc., have they been distinguished in terms of, well, this is the risk register and the budget for the Saturday event, and this is the budget and the risk register for the Monday, for the open day event, etc., or are these presented as one?
Regarding the budget, we did the budget analysis, and the main important thing was that there wasn't a fixed cost estimation for each of the activities, but we were like back of our mind, we were like doing the cost estimation based on basis that we were operating on limited budget. So the main aim of every budget has to be minimizing the cost, but at the same time we had to make sure that it wouldn't hamper the quality of the event. So we were trying to be as efficient as possible while developing our like budget analysis and the risk ratio.
But when we're talking about fireworks, these are fireworks that are going to take place on Saturday evening, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just trying to work out the details. Thank you. And I do apologize for interrupting you. I hope you don't mind us
Perfect.
interrupting.
Now for further analysis, I'd like to invite Jake.
Thank you, Manish. So the last thing we analyzed was the feasibility of the events. So with the Smart Action spreadsheet, there's a list of activities, and these activities need to be shortlisted. So Bournemouth International College, these shortlisted their activities. The first thing we looked at was the human resources, the budget constraints, and also the time constraints involved. So as an example, we looked at the celebrity chef option. With the celebrity chef option, some of the budget constraints are the cost of a celebrity chef coming in, where is the celebrity chef going to come from? Also the time constraints of finding and tendering for a celebrity chef. There can also be legal and insurance implications as well. This helped us move the celebrity chef into the red. So again, using a traffic light system, we numbered feasibility from 1 to 10, 10 being less feasible. And if it was towards the 10, then it would be moved into a red. However, we were able to then look a bit deeper into our analysis into resources that might already be available to Bournemouth International College. Resources, equipment, things like that. So one example of this is the catering feasibility. So the international food being provided by a catering company. Originally we thought, okay, this might go into the yellow. This might be not completely feasible because, or there might be some risks surrounding it because of the costs of finding someone, because of insurance costs, and also the time that it would take to find and get quotes for the food. However, we looked a bit deeper and discussed this with Bournemouth International College and found out that they already have a contract for the catering company. And this completely removes the issues with regards to insurance. This removes the issues with time taken to find a bid, and it mitigates budget constraints as well. So we were therefore able to move the catering feasibility into the green. We were asked by Bournemouth International College to look at 4 further activities with more detail. These activities have the opportunity to leave a large legacy on the event and therefore require more attention. The first one being the fireworks display. As already mentioned, it will be on the 17th of October on Saturday night. Some of the issues we looked at, for example, legality. There is no issue with legality whatsoever. It's completely legal to allow fireworks any night of the week in the UK on private property as long as it's before 11 p.m. So that's absolutely fine. Where the issues may come in are, for example, if Bournemouth International College decides they want to put on the show themselves, this can have insurance implications, as often public liability insurance doesn't completely cover it. Sometimes another insurance policy is necessary to take out, and whatever employee is then setting up the fireworks needs to have a certificate of training in fireworks in order to get that insurance policy. We therefore suggest as Manish showed some prices on a professional pyrotechnic display. Information for which is in the appendices of the report, as well as the price list again. And this can help mitigate the insurance issues. This can also help create just a better choreographed and bigger show that leaves more of a legacy on not only the attendees, but also the local surrounding community. We then look further into music licensing. Now, with music licensing, any musician that's still alive or has not been deceased for more than 70 years, more than 70 years, there's a license for their music. And to play that music in any public place, including an educational institution, there needs to be a license. Now, these licenses come in two forms. There's a chance that Bournemouth International College may already have this license by this time, because many educational institutions have them on a per room, per year basis if they're already playing background music or using music in presentations or anything like that. So it may already be in place. If not, there are options for the event, and they're very cheap. We're talking about £4 or £5 for the event, and these licenses can be attained. Again, in the appendices in the report, there is price estimation as well as web link and information on how to get these licenses. But yes, the licenses would be necessary, and there's two options to go forward on those. With the Guinness record attempts, this is an attempt to have the most languages singing Happy Birthday simultaneously. It's a great event for promotion, and as well as a bit of fun for the attendees. And we have concluded through our analysis, and after having our tour of the building site, we concluded that the most logical place for this to take place is down in the courtyard down below, and rather than being up above, because of the logistics to do with audio-visual recording and the proof that may be necessary behind that. The camera can very well go up above, and that might actually be a great vantage point for promotional use anyways. But for audio reasons, having everyone in a line down in the courtyard is probably the most feasible option. As far as further information on what might be necessary as far as audio and visual proof, we suggest advice from Guinness officials on exactly what needs to happen, because it could be that everyone needs to be recorded individually, or it could be that the proof can come from one recording of everyone altogether. So detailed advice from Guinness officials is necessary in that case. We also suggested, and it is in the appendix in the report, an event that will lead up to this Guinness record attempt. So without the lead up, it can be quite difficult to change the event and get everyone ushered out to where this attempt is going to be made. And so this cultural quiz that we've come up with will help get people active, get the attendants just ready for this event, and move everything on out into the courtyard. The next thing we looked at were souvenirs or goodie bags. So events often have something to leave a legacy in people's minds, something to leave them with a memory, and this could be an object, this could be a notebook, this could be a bag with a logo on it. And we were asked by Bournemouth International College to look a little bit deeper into something more creative, something more green, something that's less wasteful and just is also an activity as well. And so what we considered was the photo shoot idea that students or attendees could come and have their photo taken in front of a backdrop. They could have costume of international, multicultural costume that they can wear from the waist up to mitigate time passing through, and have their photograph taken. These photographs can be sent to them digitally, they can be put on social media, and they could also buy them on hard copy, and that money can go to Bournemouth International College's chosen charity. We also thought that through this, one of the ways that can mitigate some of the budget constraints is to get the media school from Bournemouth University involved in this, because what you can do is suggest that this is a great way for a media student to build their CV. By coming and donating their time to take photographs and send them digitally to the guests. And we just want to highlight again that this even though we do think this idea should go through, there is a risk of cultural insensitivity and at any cost just try and mitigate that. As far as the deliverables go, Manish mentioned them briefly. What we have is we have a Gantt chart, Smart Action spreadsheet, and a report. So the Gantt chart is a great way of taking an entire project and moving it into manageable, smaller pieces, milestones, if you will. It helps with visualizing the project as well, and especially when people are more visual thinkers, this is quite helpful. And it can also help motivate people when they see a start date, when they should start planning a project, and an end date when that project needs to be planned. People who work under stress, for example, this can be quite motivational for them. It also helps justify the roles and the burdens. So if you've got 4 people on a team, they can be, the roles can be divvied out more evenly, and this can be seen just to make sure no one's overburdened. They're also evolutionary. So one of the great things about the Gantt chart is that it can be changed. So we've sent Bournemouth International College the electronic version on Excel with a tab on there on how to use it. So it can be changed, things can be removed, things can be added, dates can be changed, and then printed after that. It helps with accountability and time management. There's no question as to when a project ends and when a project ends, when it's right there in a linear fashion. And it's proof of progress, and this can be quite motivational as well. When you see that you've got halfway through a project and everything that should be done is 100% done, that can be quite motivational and encouraging. So this is what the Gantt chart looks like. There's a copy of it on the desk underneath the Smart Action spreadsheet there. On the left, you've got the list of the activities, you've got the dates, and then on the right, the more visual linear scheduling line. So it kind of appeals to both sides of the brain. Now, some of the problems with the Gantt chart is they can be confusing to people who don't know what they're looking at. So anyone using it's going to need 5 or 10 minutes of training to know what they're looking at. Another is they're limited in what they tell you. They tell you what it is, when it starts, when it ends. And this is where the Smart Action spreadsheet comes in. Because the Smart Action spreadsheet then takes things a step further and looks at the projects in more detail. So you've got dates within the Smart Action spreadsheet as well. So you take that task and look at the task within the tasks, basically. It helps with efficiencies of times and resources as well. So within the Smart Action spreadsheet, if you're looking at resources, for example, and you see that paper is needed for three things, or volunteers are needed for origami and face painting, you can start to see trends in what resources are necessary and start to plan around that. It also gives people a clear focus of exactly what their task is and what they need to do within that task. Everything in the Smart Action spreadsheet should be able to be measured with clarity, and it also helps communicate the roles, the goals, and the scheduling. So it can be used in some cases in place of meetings if there's any scheduling changes, as long as the project team is always checking the Smart Action spreadsheet, they know when things have changed. So this is an example of the Smart Action spreadsheet. Again, activity, notes, preparation required, contacts, resources, risk factors, and timelines. This is everything that we've covered as we've been looking at, as Manish mentioned, the first two phases of the project plan, the initiation and the planning. Going further into the event management and the delivery of the event, we have left a section for Bournemouth International College to utilize at a later date to continue the utilization of the Smart Action spreadsheet. We've also included a report. This report on the desk now and also sent electronically is basically a summary of what we've said today, but with more detail. And some of the most useful pieces of information in the report are actually in the appendices. We've included a wealth of information on things to look at, like, for example, best practices, and for example, a template of event management checklist. This is something that the NHS uses, and it's basically when you're planning an event, there are many things that will come up that are not thought of right away, especially when you're planning it sort of on the macro level. It's some of the more micro things to look at, and this can be very helpful, especially when you're getting closer to the event. So in our recommendations, we came up with 6 recommendations for Bournemouth International College. The first is to assemble a dedicated team to the event planning. This team will not likely just be working on the event, but they will know that the event is one of their responsibilities. After that, defining the goals and objectives. So defining exactly which activities from the Smart Action Spreadsheet Bournemouth International College will go through with and which ones it won't do, and making a concrete decision on those in order to meet the goals and objectives of the event. After that, following the objectives and the schedule of delivery very strictly to the letter as much as possible, because when things fall off, when scheduling falls off, the Smart Action Spreadsheet, and especially the Gantt chart, there can be a domino effect, and it can be difficult to mitigate some of the issues there. So keeping to task as much as possible is advised. We also suggest considering the detailed feasibility analysis very diligently, because these 4 activities, the fireworks, the music licensing, the Guinness record, and the lasting photo shoots, we believe have the largest potential to leave a legacy on the event, and also for promotion as well. So they also require a bit more planning than some of the other activities, and we believe this planning should be detailed and start as soon as possible. And then this last one may be a bit of a given for an international college, but just through every activity, consider cultural and racial sensitivity through everything, as certain activities may not translate well to different cultures, which is okay, as long as no offense is caused. So just to keep sensitivities in mind. So in conclusion, Manish has told you about our project plan. He told you our aims and objectives. Our project plan is, and the 2 phases of initiation and never forget that, planning. We've gone into analysis, so not only what the analysis is, but why we use the analysis and what the outcomes of the analysis are. You've been told about the deliverables, so not only what the deliverables are, you've received the deliverables, you've seen them, and we've now told you a bit about why we use them and how useful they can be and why they're useful. And we finished with a set of 6 recommendations that we hope Bournemouth International College will consider and take forward. We've had a really enjoyable time on this consultancy, and I do know that some of my colleagues are hoping that they can be of use to the event going forward. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think you did a very good job and explained it very clearly, etc. I'm obviously much more familiar with this, as is Sandra, because we've met on a regular basis. So I don't know if do you want to kick off with any questions about anything that's not clear, because you haven't really been involved. I know you're aware of discussing some of these issues earlier today, actually, but was there anything from your work that's been done that wasn't clear to you?
I would say if you'd like to start questions, I might follow up.
I have some great ideas here, like the celebrity chef idea. Were you able to actually sound anyone out? Celebrity chef?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We basically just conducted the risk factors and the feasibility on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a question.
Yeah, so I suppose one comment from me might be, which would led to just ask the question, that it maybe didn't come across when you started. You were working with a number of ideas that actually come from one of our staff meetings, which included the celebrity chef. And your remit was to look at, maybe to help us evaluate which of these were more feasible, less feasible, which had high or low risk factor, and think back to your question actually, which ones might be more suitable for the Thursday, which might be more suitable for the Saturday. And as the consultation went on, I think some of the goalposts did shift. I mean, we started off originally, I think, having up the 10th of October, and it shifted a bit later. All sorts of things, as in real life they do, aspects around the planning did change. So these guys' remit wasn't to actually make any arrangements, but to do the earlier, help us with the earlier planning stages and making decisions about, kind of feasibility study, I guess. Would you agree that?
Maybe just to aid on exactly what you just said, because let's take a look, like when we started, there was sort of a brainstorm of ideas. So our main aspect we had to cover was to make sure that we go and look into each individual one and to see how feasible they are, and to really use the traffic system to see the more feasible ones and the ones that are not feasible. Then we sent back to Rachel. Then we had a meeting about it so that we can sort of highlight the main things. So it was a sort of an evolving process as we went through.
So yeah, sure, we'll then did in fact get that red, didn't you? So I guess that's why putting carried forward.
Yes, although I think we can still do the chef demonstration, but not a celebrity chef.
Okay.
We get a chef to do child roles, for example. But I think it was Amanda's suggestion. Yes.
And one of the most difficult things of the consultancy for us was, and because we're quite a go-getting team, is to keep it within the project management consultancy rather than going into project management. So there were times that we wanted to go out and find out how hard it would be to get a celebrity chef, and we just had to remember our scope and stick to
So
that.
it's maybe some of the things like the Subu, we're more in tune to it because it's part of the university, and I'm a senior student rep. So we were happy as a team for us to go further to contact them. But the rest we thought we play according to the scope.
So I think in terms of presentation, what a suggestion might be that you could have perhaps explained what your starting point was. So from that first meeting with us, you did come away with a list of ideas that have come out of a brainstorming session. You didn't start cold. I was kind of surprised as well you didn't mention about the focuses we talked about at the beginning. So showcasing college activity, showcasing BU, wanting to demonstrate engagement with the local community, and wanting to demonstrate the positives about international culture, college, as well as the 10th anniversary. So there's sort of 5 dimensions. I wasn't really sure that came across, because I think for us, I think we were very clear from the beginning, that's what we were trying to achieve. So I think you could have included, I think in what you said it came out, but I think you could have had something explicit in the presentation that just captured that at the beginning.
Your actual goals and objectives.
Yeah, because those were clear. So that would be a suggestion. Perhaps you could have included that. And you mentioned Subu there, but I didn't see that in the presentation. Was that for any reason?
No.
You talked about that quite a lot.
Yeah, not for any particular reason other than, as far as, I mean, it is mentioned further in the report a bit, but it's just something, again, I don't know exactly where our scope ends as far as what we can mention about Subu. Our hope is to help connect you with Subu. As far as whether or not that fits into the consultancy, I'm not sure.
I think we pretty much actually discussed about it. When you look at it, the first 2 phases, because the first 2 phases, the initial phase and the planning phase, were consistent. Then the Subu part is going further beyond, which is not sort of the project scope of the whole umbrella we are. So I think that's the reason why.
Yes, okay. I mean, I'm not, I don't mean in terms of you actually following it up, but it was one of the key ideas, or one of the key possibly reflecting the success of it, that I thought might just have been reflected there. Anything?
Yeah, it's just something quite specific, really, thinking about feasibility and the fireworks. So you've obviously looked into professional firework companies and how much they would charge. And thinking about the location, did you talk to them about where the fireworks would be let off from?
No, we have not made any contact. Again, that goes into the planning phase where it just steps just barely
Yeah.
over the scope. But I would like to know. We were hoping on the terrace,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's still I still don't see any reason myself why not. But then again, I'm not a pyrotechnic expert, so I
Yeah.
can't.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Yeah, we had some, I think, some very valuable discussions around things like the balloon launch, which was another idea
Oh,
I
yes.
remember being raised. And so your idea is that you kind of thought it all through, and I think your recommendation here is that wouldn't be one to go ahead with, because it's again, where do you do it from and how do you get impact? And there wasn't really a place that we could use as an effective launch pad. So yeah, so I suppose maybe, I mean, that was a good discussion. We had some other good discussions about a number of the different activities that have been proposed. So I think maybe you sold yourself short a bit there, because I don't think that came across in the presentation the way that maybe it could have done. That's not to say there wasn't a lot of very good stuff in there, but I think you could have made more of it. So perhaps said, when you talk about your traffic light system, you had so many ideas, I don't know how many it was, 30 say. 10 of them you felt were in the red category, 5 you thought were in the orange, and whatever it was in the greens. That maybe perhaps would have just been a clear summary of
Categorize them.
yeah, overall, and then perhaps looking back to the earlier question, and of those, you felt that these would be appropriate for the Thursday, this was Saturday. Just a suggestion.
So I have one more question about the face painting part. Is it really likely that allergies are likely to occur when faces are being painted? So I suppose see that in the reds, to be honest. Yeah, you see it very commonly along the pier, on the promenade, in the gardens. I just found, was quite surprised to see it marked down as a red.
Yeah, when we research, there are cases in other countries, like when they do face painting, they have allergies. It won't happen in the first day, like the coming weeks there will be allergies, there will be shades and all. That's the reason why, even though they might not have any health issues right now, and even the students might not know whether they have it, in the end, after doing the face painting, in a week time, if allergies come, then the problem will be big.
Honestly, just killed an entertainment industry.
It's a pity because obviously you'd engage lots of children by doing it. But obviously, if there's a risk, that's what you guys are here to tell us. So yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But the point is that the person who is doing should be aware of
Yeah.
which product she is
Yeah, of course.
using. This is the main point.
Yeah. So we just need to make sure we bear it in mind. So yeah,
And
it's
also
useful.
Yeah.
and also there are duplicate products. So even though they might write face painting, it might be the normal paints, and if that is applied to the face, then
Yes.
it will get much worse.
Yeah, a cowboy face painting, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I should never take my niece face painting.
You ruined it.
Yeah.
Ruined his niece.
Yeah.
Can I ask, how did you decide who was going to present? Why 2 of you, not 5 of you, or what, any particular reason, or?
Okay, maybe let me explain, maybe sort of go ahead from the start of things. So we sort of had our divisions, which we were working on ourselves to make sure we had those things. So we had to make sure that everything, because of the time constraint, we have to strategically make sure that everything goes ahead. So after we finish the report, some people to sort of sort out to make sure that the presentation and everything is crazy, is going out ahead and communicating with other guys to make sure so that we have efficiency rather than for us to say we are standing here and jumping upon everyone. Yet we can sort of make a neat presentation.
And to be sure that who is presenting is at ease with the language because,
Yes.
for example, in my case, I'm not so at ease sometimes.
Okay.
They are the strong members of the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could I ask a question of our friends who joined us? Could you, on the basis of that presentation, decide which activities would be best for those 2 days?
On the basis just of the presentation, no. However, the presentation in conjunction with the report and the other tools, possibly. But I think part of the value of the consultation process has been that we've had regular meetings. So we've met every week pretty much. And it's, so the process for me has been really important. And it's been a, basically, as we started off by dumping a load of ideas on these guys. And as time has gone on, it's certainly helped me, and as Sandra's been in on most of the meetings too. It's just helped with the visualization process and the getting some clarity around what's going to work, what isn't going to work, what needs to be rethought or discarded, or whatever. So that's how we chose to do it. I now know some of these consultancy projects with companies that meet the group at the beginning and then at the end. If that had been the case, then possibly not. But because we've had all those meetings in between.
Well, I mean, they are encouraged to take that process approach.
Yes.
And to work with you and for things to
Yeah.
change. That's all.
So it has been
absolutely
very
fine.
valuable.
And,
Yeah.
and they can reflect that and write about it in. They have to write assignments, visual assignments, which talk about the process, so they can capture
Yeah.
all that in there and show the value of that.
One thing I would like to say as well is I think it's quite hard to gather all the information that we have been doing along all these
Yeah.
weeks with them in just one presentation.
Yeah.
It's many ideas around this process. And as you say, Rachel, because we have been in touch with them really closely into this process, it's pretty much everything we have talked. But at the same time, I think it's very valuable, and I was expecting for the presentation to offer that theoretical scope of the thing, because of course we have been doing the meetings to see the ideas and organize the feasibility of the things, but looking at the project from the theory perspective is quite interesting because we haven't gone deep into that part, and it's good in the way how they present it and how you apply the theory into the formal process and the final project. So I think that part is very interesting.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, had we just met at the beginning and we were meeting for the second time now, that presentation might look quite different.
But presumably that the students would have done a different presentation.
Yes, and I don't think probably would have, yeah, exactly. You would have gone away and put something else together because we wouldn't have had that much communication in the meantime. So it might perhaps have included some of the things I've mentioned, but then it wouldn't have included a lot of other things that they have got there.
Yeah, I think the difficult process we actually discussed about it is because we went through the process and for our reflective writing and all those things, it's different. So we consider that, Peter, you coming in with Milena is example, that they have no clue what's going to go. So we actually discussed about, but then we're like, our main focus should be about Bournemouth International College. So it's good that actually our hinge sort of coming out of the discussion.
Right. Guys, you have a really sympathetic client.
Are we being too nice or are we being tougher?
Yes, you've been really nice then. And I thank you for this. Is this the full report, consultancy report, that is going to be produced for the client? Okay. Where do I start from? Now, I'm glad that Rachel filled in the 5 dimensions that you mention, because you're talking about strategic plan for an event. Strategic plan for an event. How does the strategic 3 to 5 years, etc., ties in with an event? Okay. But I understand this is about event management. So we would like to see how the client would like to deliver that, the two events, because they are two events. They're under the same umbrella of showcasing the good work that the International College Kaplan and the Board of University International College have done. But at the same time, it's about you providing consultancy, what they should do, taking this report and just following the templates that you have created, very good templates, being mindful based on the risk register, but again, knowing that for day one, these are the options. This is what they should have been doing or they should be discarding. The 5 themes that Rachel identified were your 5 objectives. You had, on the second slide, you had just one aim and no objectives. Each of these 5 things could constitute an objective that had to be addressed by your project. And I'm coming from Colt to this project. I knew nothing other than that there is a building next door. And I was really thrilled that I will find out a little bit more about this, about the building, about the activities that could happen there. How did you decide to discard certain activities? Did you do any market research as to what other companies have done in similar cases? Did you involve a target group of potential participants to find out what their views are? What primary data collection did you do to support your findings? Okay, and I'll stop here.
Right. Milena, maybe if we take it again from the process of us going through this whole process. We wouldn't want to start a presentation by telling exactly what Bournemouth College does, because they are here, we have gone through all that process. So looking into such aspects, we are really sort of constrained into delivering exactly what we're supposed to do.
Why never this insufficient, like that's good.
Exactly. So why it's a strategic plan? It's because it's not just starting from us to just say, okay, this is going to have a 2-day launch event and pretty much it's going to be A, B, C, D. But we have to look at all the other elements. To look into the environment first, to see what is the value of the college itself. We even asked a few colleagues of us about what do they think about care plan and things like that. So we did a research first into so that we come up with all the analysis as an example to actually start to define who our key stakeholders are. So all those processes, the process that went through meeting with the client and things like that.
And if I look at your project plan, would I find this documented in the project plan?
Which one?
The events of meeting with, identifying with audience.
Meeting with the client, this and that goes with because we have 3 reports to present. We have the client report, this one, we have an individual reflective journey, and we have another thing. So when you try to look at these things, some certain elements will filter in other, like this whole meeting process, what we learned through meeting Rachel and team, it cannot come into the main report, it has to come into the reflective journey.
So do you have a project plan for your project?
Yes.
Okay. And are these meetings with Rachel and Sandra recorded in your
Yes.
project plan?
Yes, we have a detailed Gantt chart.
Just
like that one.
Just one, like
Okay, that's fine. No,
yeah.
no, no. I'm just taking one.
We've also got a
at
racing
time. There is
matrix.
too much information, and I agree with Rachel and Sandra that you probably didn't tease out the essence that was required. It's a difficult task. It is a difficult task. You have to meet 2 audiences, an academic audience and client audience, and probably I'm the one who doesn't know anything about the project, whilst Peter and your client. How many I don't remember Manish introducing the roles within the team. Did you manage to do that? Do you have roles within your team?
We discussed this.
It's we actually have that flow document because me I was the dealing with the client contact. Yeah.
So we created several different processes for control. The first being a RACI matrix. So rather than having too many specific roles, because they would change as the project went on, there was always a responsibility broken down into the weeks for a set of responsibilities set into every person. Beyond that, there was process control as far as document control. So for example, client contact was done through Barney. All documents were sent first to Laura, before to me to put on the Facebook, and then for Manish and Alex for review. So there were processes around how to control it. There were processes around how to control who was responsible for what. I was in charge of the project management tools, so the Gantt chart and the RACI matrix. So there was controls throughout, but we didn't divvy out precise roles that would go through from beginning to end. It was just adjusted responsibilities as tasks moved on.
Is that happening in the real world? A company not to have dedicated responsibilities for everyone?
Like I said, we had dedicated responsibilities.
Yes,
They just
but they were very fluid.
and they had to be.
Because remember, why we came with that was we had other assessments and preparation of exams and all those things. So we had to find something that would work and make sure that we are efficient. Because we couldn't say we are meeting Rachel on Monday and we can't deliver what we previously said that on Monday we would do.
Sorry, Barney, I don't want to mix the study with the consultancy project. To me, this is a consultancy. And if I were your client, I'm hiring you, your company, to deliver something, to present a pitch of why this is the very best output that they could get because they hired you. And because when they come out of this meeting, on the basis of the documentation of what they have heard here, of what they have discussed with you, they will be able to go and implement that plan for the events on the 15th and the 17th. And this is, if we are coming back from the business side to the study side, there should have been 400 hours spent on this project by each of you. That means 2,000 hours spent on the project. And there should have been a clear allocation or record of how these hours have been spent based on the project plan, based on the Gantt chart. I'm not sure whether the work that I've seen could correlate to 2,000 hours spent on this. Maybe that hasn't been clearly communicated. I take responsibility for this. Maybe it was a rush through to have the presentation now, much earlier rather than later. I really don't know. You have absolutely brilliant visuals. I've seen that you've enjoyed working by the photographs, the evidence that the photographs present. Rachel and Sandra are ever so supportive, and it seems that the whole process has been engaging and the work has been
Useful.
There is something missing here. I can't work out what it is. I want to see our students being the consultants that go out there and very professionally go through the elements of a business pitch of what this project has delivered. And I've seen very professionally, very well, professionally paced, professionally delivered, paced presentation with excellent visuals, with some really good outcomes, but I didn't see the story. I didn't see the story from aim and objectives throughout the final delivery. Correct me if I'm wrong, but tell me something that hasn't been very honest with you, feeling your clients are your friends as well, and that's why I'm being open as to how I feel about the presentation. Based on this feedback, if you were to do anything different, what would you do?
Well, maybe consider the audience more. Maybe consider the audience will be
Yeah.
coming from a viewpoint that they may not understand or know the background behind the story. We'll take a look more at the objectives from the very beginning and include that into the proposal as well, rather than tailor the project as the project changes and moves along.
For me, I also think, maybe we should have considered the audience, because things would have been different.
We probably allocated differently at this point the responsibilities, because we have tried to be all together, always on the same page, but probably given the time constraint, this was not possible. This is the point.
But the learning outcome from us, our workflow, for me, I'm pretty much happy about it. I mean,
Yeah, but
I believe we met our brief that we gave to the client at the beginning, that we would discuss with the client. I believe that was met.
Is that brief included as an appendix in the report? So how would I know, or anyone, imagine somebody takes over from Rachel and Sandra. They should be able to follow this, but how would they know that you have met the brief if the brief hasn't been included? Just small things like this. And in terms of the audience, there wasn't much need more about talking about Kaplan and the Bournemouth International College. No, it's more about focusing on your outputs and what you have done that could be used for the event. I've seen a lot of project management and theory, as Sandra mentioned, not necessarily the product output to take out and to go and implement it.
I think, I don't know, Milena, but the Gantt, like the Gantt chart from, like I don't know how to quantify everything, because it was been a process, but the Gantt chart, it will clearly states, because it's only, again, it comes from engaging, to know that by this date to this date, certain activities like this should have happened. We actually send one which is topical, then we send another one which is different. So again, it will come back to the audience still, because for us, because we've been engaging, we sort of tailored and to present towards what we thought the stage where we are at. So yeah, I think maybe we could have done differently.
So what you're arguing is that by following the Gantt chart that you have, is that the Gantt chart for your project or the Gantt chart for the implementation?
We have two. For the client, it's one. But for our working,
Yes.
so that we go to do our reflective writing and things like that, that we have another one for our one.
So if the client follows the Gantt chart that you have presented for them, they should be able to prepare and deliver the opening event. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think I wouldn't say it's in a format where I can just pick it up and start working on it. Because the level of detail it's not at a level of detail that I can pick it up and work on it. What we need to do now is to do some of the more detailed work around it. So it's taken us to a certain point, which is helpful, and now we need to kind of drill down more into some of the specifics. I was a bit surprised that when you mentioned the number of hours.
It's quite possible that they were not aware of the number of hours as well. It's more
It's quite
quality
significant.
assurance, from a
Yeah.
quality assurance point of view, this is a double-weighted unit, working as a team. And probably about 50% of these hours should be spent on project management. So that's on the client side. it's not 2,000 hours, it's 50%.
Right.
But again, that is probably is a failure on our side, not clearly.
But 2,000 hours, how many months? 2,000 hours, how many months should be?
For every unit that you study, a 20 credit unit is the equivalent of 200 study hours. And this is a 40 credit unit. And that's per person.
I think that includes all the reflective writing and everything.
Yes,
you
it
do
does.
in
Yes,
August.
it does. Yes, it does.
So I'm sure because of all those things, it will still go beyond the scope. But talking about what we have to present, we can't look beyond that. We have to
No,
consider.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But as consultants, you should have a clear account as to how many hours you have spent with your client and how many hours you will be billing your client for, if that were to be.
We have detailed records of all the meetings. We have minutes from all the meetings. We've kept records and
And-
and everything.
I mean, I did ask, is that the whole?
Not for,
That's-
the client doesn't need to.
Okay, that's correct, yes.
That's
That's
why
fine.
I think maybe when you look into this, I think this for consultants, I don't know, Peter, but if it's how students are expected to deliver, so I think you need to sort of make it clear from the very beginning.
Today is straightforward, and what you have done is the correct sort of thing, i.e. you are just presenting to your clients the outcome to satisfy the brief you agreed with them. It's as simple as that today. So you agreed a brief with a client which you may well change as you go through meeting them, that's absolutely fine. But at the end of whatever that process was, you have a set brief which is an aim and objectives for this consultancy project, and then you deliver that today, which in this case, as I understand it, would have been to develop a number of options, a number of activities for those 2 days events in conjunction with yourselves, and to evaluate them, and particularly to evaluate them against the 5 dimensions that were agreed at the beginning. And then, so this process would set out, these are the options for the 2 days, this is how we've evaluated each of them against these 5 dimensions, and therefore these are what we recommend you do. That's what I was expecting to see. And to an extent I saw that. I need to read the report and reflect on what was said, but that's essentially what I was expecting to see today.
Yeah, I suspect probably a lot of that is in here, but it hasn't. Maybe you could make more of it.
Yes, I didn't feel that those options for those 2 days were analysed in the depth that they could have been against your 5 dimensions. And for some of the analysis, I wasn't quite sure where the evaluation came from. So, like when you said that this activity had a risk factor of 4, I didn't know quite how you got to that, but that may well be in the report. I can see so much. But I didn't see that for those 5 dimensions, particularly engagement with particular stakeholder groups, I would like to see how each of those options would have achieved each of those dimensions or each of those objectives. I didn't always get that. But there were some positives from the presentation itself and what you've produced. Okay.
Yes. Please forgive me if I was bluntly honest with you. I care about you, and as I said, I believe that the client here today has been very, very supportive for your project. And I truly believe that the time that you have invested in the project has been rewarded by the outcomes.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though it might not be what I was expecting to see based on the initial summary. The ultimate question is, are you happy that the time that you have invested has been paid off by ideas or by some of the work that you've made?
Yes, it's yeah. Do you agree, Sally?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we've definitely moved forward a long way from the beginning to this point. We are going to have to go away and look at it in more detail, but I was expecting to have to do that.
Okay,
So I don't have a problem with that.
you're not
That's-
surprised.
No, it's
And as I mentioned before, the engagement they have with us, it was really helpful for us, for our purposes. So definitely we saw the commitment in them. And then, as I mentioned before, maybe because the shape of the presentation, it was with another purposes. In a sense, we assume, and I will say to myself, yeah, I assume that all that information is in the background because we were really involved with the students in that process. So maybe from your point of view, it's something different that is totally valid. But all the process and all the stages that in one point you mentioned, they were involved within our internal strategy with the group. So yeah, I think of course always there is a feedback and things that you have to review and change. And even from our side and their side, there are things that always have to have certain touch and make changes, or sometimes you have to totally upside down the final project. But the whole process has been done in a really fluently, processing the outcomes and the relationship between the two parts is being quite helpful for us.
Yeah, and I think particularly valuable for us is that they bring university student perspective and an international university student perspective, which was something I think as a college team we don't have. So that's why when Barney first approached me, that's what I saw initially as
Yeah.
that's useful for us.
That's what I was expecting, that they would involve a large audience of international students to test the ideas. I agree that this has been a very intensive, work-intensive semester. So I'm trying to tone down my critique. I'm really sorry. I'm being so honest, but it is a consultancy, and it's important.
I think we are well aware of the importance and we are taking it seriously, but as we mentioned, and it's not an excuse, but we had to manage our time, and this is what we managed to do. This is the point.
Because
Probably we could have come with more time, with other ideas, and we would have been even happy to do so, but with some strict schedule.
Was there